God damn it. What the hell do you think you're doing, filthy? Disgusting. That's something you don't touch. You serve it. You watch it, but you don't ever hold it. James Thornton's voice cut like broken glass, echoing through the quiet room of the Chicago, Illinois mansion. He stormed in, yanking baby Sophie from Olivia Harris's arms with a force that made her breath catch. No, please. She just fell asleep. She wouldn't stop crying, Olivia said, her voice trembling but steady. I don't care, James barked. You're the maid, not the mother, not anything. Sophie screamed the moment she left Olivia's chest. Her cry tore through the air, tiny hands clawing, face red and gasping. Shh, Sophie, shh, it's okay, sweetheart, James whispered, trying to soothe her. But the child only cried harder, writhing in his arms, panicked. Why won't she stop? James growled, his eyes darting from Sophie to Olivia, who stood frozen, heart pounding. I tried everything, Olivia said quietly, firmly. She only sleeps if I hold her. That's all. James didn't answer. He stood there, the child's cries growing louder by the second. Give her back to me, Olivia said, her voice low, resolute. You're scaring her. James looked down at Sophie, then at Olivia. His eyes were ice, but beneath them, something flickered confusion, hesitation, then defeat. He handed Sophie back. The baby curled into Olivia's chest instantly, as if her tiny body recognized safety. The crying stopped in less than 30 seconds, only a few hiccuping sobs lingering as she drifted into fragile sleep. Olivia held her close, sitting back onto the rug, rocking gently, murmuring without thinking. I got you. I got you. Little one. James stood still, silent, watching. That night, no one spoke again, but the mansion felt colder. Hours later, Olivia laid Sophie gently in her crib. She didn't sleep at all. By morning, Mrs. Carter, the longtime housekeeper, found Olivia sitting in the nursery's corner, eyes wide, hands still trembling. She only sleeps with her, Mrs. Carter whispered, glancing at the now peaceful baby. James said nothing at breakfast. His tie was crooked, his coffee untouched. The second night, Olivia tucked Sophie in and stepped away. The baby screamed, Mrs. Carter rushed in. James tried. Neither worked. Only when Olivia returned, arms outstretched, whispering softly, did Sophie quiet. The third night, James waited outside the nursery door. He didn't enter. He listened. No crying. Only a quiet lullaby, half hummed. He knocked. Olivia opened the door. I need to speak with you, James said. She stepped outside, closing the door gently behind her. I owe you an apology, he said. Silence, for what Olivia asked, her voice not soft, not angry, just steady. For how I spoke to you, for what I said. James replied, it was cruel and wrong. Olivia nodded. Sophie knows what's real, she said. She doesn't care about wealth or titles. She just needs warmth. I know. She won't sleep unless she feels safe. I know, James repeated, his eyes dropping. And I don't think she's the only one. Olivia looked at him. I'm not going to quit, she said. Not because of you, but because she needs me. I hope you stay, James said. For her. For her, Olivia echoed. But in her chest, something shook loose, like a long-locked door cracking open. She didn't trust him, but Sophie did, and for now, that was enough. The next morning, Olivia Harris moved through the mansion like a shadow. The dining room table gleamed, polished to perfection. The scent of fresh coffee lingered, but neither James Thornton nor Mrs. Carter spoke as Olivia passed by, a folded blanket in her arms. Good morning, Olivia said calmly, eyes forward. Mrs. Carter nodded stiffly. James looked up from his tablet, jaw tight, but said nothing. It didn't matter. Olivia wasn't expecting kindness. She wasn't here for it. She was here for Sophie. Upstairs, in the quiet nursery. Sophie slept soundly, arms stretched above her head, a soft sigh in her chest. Olivia sat beside the crib, not touching, just watching, like always, like before. The events of that first night still burned behind her eyes, James's words, his tone, the way he tore the baby from her arms. Those things weren't new. Maybe not in volume or sharpness, but in meaning. She'd been told her whole life she wasn't meant to hold, only to serve. But Sophie knew different. Sophie clung to her like she'd been waiting for Olivia her whole life. Olivia Elena, another staff member, peeked into the nursery. "Hey," Olivia whispered. "She's asleep." Elena stepped in quietly, sitting on the chair next to Olivia, whispering, "I heard what happened last night. Bet the whole house did. He's not used to people. Not since Sarah." "I'm not here for him," Olivia said. "I know," Elena replied softly. "But you need to be careful. Men like James, when they feel something, they push harder. They don't know how to ask. They just react." Olivia's eyes stayed on Sophie. She's the only one who didn't look at me like I was dirt. Elena touched her shoulder. "You're not dirt, Olivia. You're the only reason this house is holding together right now, even if he doesn't see it yet. If you're touched by Olivia's quiet strength, give this video a like and tell us where you're watching from. You might be surprised who else near you is watching too." Later that day, while folding towels in the laundry room, Olivia heard James's voice on the phone, filtering through the half-closed door. "I told you I'm not interested in dinner meetings." "No. Jennifer, I don't care if she's in town. We're not getting back together." A pause. "Because I have a daughter who cries through the night unless a stranger holds her. And I can't even look that stranger in the eye because I've treated her like trash." Olivia froze behind the door. James's voice dropped to a near whisper. "She's not just the help. I see that now. But I don't know how to fix what I said." The door creaked. Olivia turned. He saw her. A beat of silence. Then he hung up the call without a word. Eavesdropping, he asked, voice stiff. "Laundry," Olivia replied evenly. He exhaled. "You weren't supposed to hear that." "No one's ever supposed to hear anything in this house," she said. "It's made of silence." James rubbed the back of his neck. "I meant what I said last night. This morning, too. I was wrong." "You were cruel," Olivia said. "And that baby, your baby, she knows who's gentle." He nodded. "I'd like to start over." Olivia didn't answer. Instead, she went upstairs, rocked Sophie in her arms, and hummed a lullaby she hadn't sung in years. That evening, as Olivia stitched a torn seam on a couch pillow in the dimly lit living room of the Chicago mansion, Mrs. Carter approached, her footsteps soft but deliberate on the hardwood floor. "You're not like the others," she said, her voice low, almost confiding. Olivia didn't look up, her needle moving steadily. "What others? The ones who come here for the paycheck or the prestige?" Mrs. Carter replied. "They last 2 weeks, maybe 3. Then they're gone. But you." She paused, her eyes lingering on Olivia's hands. "She only sleeps in your arms." "She's just a baby," Olivia said, her tone flat but not unkind. "She's not just a baby," Mrs. Carter countered. "She's a mirror. She sees who you are." Olivia finally met her gaze. "And who am I?" Mrs. Carter's lips curved into a thin smile. "Someone who deserves to stay." The words hit harder than Olivia expected, like a stone dropped into still water. She looked back at the pillow, stitching in silence, her thoughts churning. 2 days later, James Thornton called her to his office. Olivia entered cautiously, her steps measured. The room was stark modern desk, chrome bookshelves, wall-mounted screens glowing with data. James stood behind his desk, sleeves rolled up, tie loosened. "I want to show you something," he said, gesturing to a screen. On it was a wireframe of an app, bright colors, clean icons, a tab labeled Family Haven. Olivia's brow furrowed. "What's this?" "My next project," James said. "A digital platform for foster families and single parents resources, counseling, emergency aid. I started it after Sarah left. But my team, they're mostly suits. They don't get it. They don't know what it's like to feel alone in a system that's supposed to help." Olivia crossed her arms. "And you think I do?" He met her eyes, unflinching. "I know you do. I heard you on the phone yesterday, talking to Elena about growing up in foster care, about the nights you didn't have enough. You understand what it means to be left behind. That makes you more qualified than anyone in this house." She stared at him, the weight of his words settling like dust. "I'm not a tech expert," she said. "I don't need one," James replied. "I need someone who knows what it feels like to matter too late." That night, Olivia lay awake in her small staff room, the Chicago wind rattling the window. She thought of foster homes in the South Side, the basement apartments, the clients who never said thank you, the men who shouted, the women who looked away. And now, here she was, being asked not to mop floors, but to build something real. She turned toward the crib down the hall, where Sophie slept, her soft breaths audible through the baby monitor. For the first time in years, Olivia let herself imagine a future not one where she escaped, but one where she stayed. 3 days later, Olivia stood before the massive oak door of James's study, heart thudding. "Come in," he called before she could knock. She opened the door slowly. James sat at his desk, sleeves rolled, tie undone, papers scattered. Next to his laptop were printouts and sticky notes, some in her handwriting ideas she'd jotted down during a late-night conversation about the app. He gestured to the seat across from him. "I've been reviewing your notes. You think like someone who's been on the other side of the system." "I have," Olivia said, taking the seat. "I want to implement the anonymous chat feature you suggested, for parents too scared to speak openly." James said, "It's smart." Olivia nodded. "Some people, especially the younger ones, won't talk in public. But they'll type if they're alone and afraid." He leaned back, studying her. "I built my company solving problems, clean energy, smart homes, carbon tracking, but I missed the human ones." Olivia's voice was gentle but firm. "You can't code your way out of loneliness." James gave a small, tired smile. "Yeah, turns out you can't." They sat in silence, the winter light slanting through the tall window, casting soft lines across the desk. Olivia scanned the papers, then looked up. "I'll help," she said. "But I want to be a voice, not just a consultant or an assistant." "You already are," James said. "No," she said, firmer. "You said we're starting over. This is how it begins. You build from trust, not convenience." He met her eyes. Deal. Later that evening, Olivia stepped into the nursery and found Sophie standing in her crib, barefoot, cheeks flushed, babbling toward the door as if she knew Olivia was coming. The moment Olivia walked in, the little girl reached out both arms. "Hey there," Olivia whispered, scooping her up. "Did you miss me, troublemaker?" Sophie buried her face in Olivia's neck with a tiny sigh. Olivia settled into the rocking chair by the window, snow falling outside, blanketing the Chicago skyline. She rocked slowly, humming the same lullaby from that first night. Sophie grew heavier, sleepier, at peace. Mrs. Carter appeared in the doorway, holding a steaming mug. "You looked like you needed this," she said, offering tea. Olivia smiled. "You read minds now." "No, just faces." Mrs. Carter said, "Yours is easier than you think." They sat in silence as Sophie dozed off. "You're different," Mrs. Carter said finally, "since you started helping with that app." "I'm not just folding laundry anymore," Olivia said. "You're seen," Mrs. Carter replied. "And that's something most of us wait a lifetime for." Olivia nodded slowly. "I'm still getting used to it." "You'll never get used to it," Mrs. Carter said. "But you'll start believing it." That night, as Olivia returned to her room, she found something unexpected on her bed, a small, cloth-bound book. No note, just a single blue ribbon tied around it. She opened it. Inside, handwritten in sharp, deliberate script, "You deserve to be more than someone who survives." Her fingers paused on the words. It wasn't Elena's handwriting, nor Mrs. Carter's. She closed the book, sat on the bed's edge, her heart loud in her chest. Over the next week, the mansion began to shift in small ways. James ate breakfast in the dining room again, not every day, but more often. When he passed Olivia in the hallway, he didn't look through her. He looked at her. Sophie grew more attached, reaching for Olivia before anyone else, laughing when she entered the room, refusing food unless Olivia sat nearby. Olivia tried not to read too much into it, but the warmth was undeniable. One evening, while reviewing app features in the study, James asked, "What did you want to be when you were younger?" Olivia blinked. "You mean before life broke things?" He didn't smile. "I mean it." She looked at her hands. A nurse, maybe. Then a teacher. Then neither. "I learned early the world doesn't hand out dreams to people like me. So I mopped floors and stitched buttons." "You do more than stitch buttons," James said. Olivia raised an eyebrow. "That's supposed to be a compliment." "Yes," he said. She gave a small, reluctant smile. "And you, what did you want to be?" He hesitated. "A father," he said finally, "one who didn't feel like a stranger in his own home." Her voice softened. "You're not a stranger to her. Not anymore." He looked down at the table. "She laughs when you walk in. Olivia, that's not nothing." "You call me Olivia now," she said. "You said we were starting over," he replied. For the first time, she saw something raw in his eyes, unarmored, exposed. "I'm trying," he said quietly. "So am I," she said. A few nights later, a snowstorm hit Chicago, and the mansion's generator cut out for 2 hours. Most staff had gone home early due to the weather. It was just Olivia, James, and Sophie in the house. Olivia found James in the kitchen, barefoot, sleeves rolled, trying to boil water on a camping stove. "You look ridiculous," she said. "I'm aware," he replied. She grabbed a second pot. "Let me." He stepped back. "You always know what to do," he said. "No," Olivia replied. "But I always do something. That's the difference." A pause. "She cried less this week," James said, "because you stopped looking at her like a responsibility. You started holding her like she mattered." He nodded slowly. "Thank you, Olivia." "For what?" "For not leaving." She looked at him long and level. "I almost did. Twice." "What stopped you?" She smiled faintly. "She held on to me, even when I couldn't hold myself." The wind howled outside. The stove hissed. In the dim light, something steadied between them, not fragile, not forced, just there, growing quietly. The storm raged through the weekend. By Monday, the Chicago streets were buried under 2 feet of snow, the city muffled in white. Inside the Thornton mansion, though, warmth flickered. Fireplaces glowed, soft jazz hummed through the hallways. Olivia stood in the nursery, swaddling Sophie after her bath, the baby's cheeks rosy from steam and giggles. "You're getting so big," Olivia murmured, tucking the blanket under Sophie's chin. "Soon you'll be bossing us all around." Sophie cooed, her tiny fingers tugging Olivia's braid. Downstairs. James sat at the breakfast table, stirring his coffee but not drinking. He glanced toward the staircase every few seconds, as if waiting. Mrs. Carter set down a plate of toast, thinking she asked. "Just waiting," he said. She didn't press. Years in the Thornton household had taught her which silences to leave alone. Minutes later, Olivia entered with Sophie on her hip. James stood too quickly. "You're here," he said. Olivia raised an eyebrow. "You invited me for breakfast. Thought it'd be rude to ignore." He gestured to the seat beside him. "Please." She placed Sophie in the high chair between them, then sat. For a moment, the three sat like any family, quiet, comfortable, unremarkable. For Olivia, that was the strangest feeling of all. Sophie dropped her spoon. Olivia bent to pick it up. When she looked up, James was watching her not with intensity, but with attention. What she asked? "Nothing," he said, though his expression said otherwise. "After breakfast." James followed Olivia to the nursery. Sophie had fallen asleep mid-play, clutching a stuffed bear Olivia had sewn together last week. "She's grown fast," James said, glancing at the crib. "Babies do that when they're safe," Olivia replied, straightening the blanket. He leaned against the doorway, arms crossed. "I've been thinking about expanding the app, adding a section for caregivers, nannies, foster parents, people like you." "I'm not like them," Olivia said, not looking up. "Most of them get to go home." He paused. What if this became home? She turned slowly. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying," he hesitated, "you've become more than staff. You're part of Sophie's life, of mine." Olivia stood straighter, her voice even. "Are you offering me a job or a future?" He blinked, caught off guard. "I'm offering a choice to stay, not out of obligation, but because you belong here." She studied him, her gaze sharp. "You can't say things like that without knowing what they mean." "I do," he said quietly. "I'm not asking for an answer today." She nodded. "Good, because I don't have one." Later that evening, Olivia stood alone in the mansion's library, the fire crackling low, casting shadows across the bookshelves. Her fingers brushed the spines, stopping at the cloth-bound book from her bed. She opened it again. "You deserve to be more than someone who survives." The handwriting was James's unmistakable. She closed the book, held it to her chest. The door creaked open. "You left this," James said. "I know," Olivia replied, not turning. He stepped inside, his tone careful. "I wrote it before I was ready to say it aloud. Now I'm trying to be a man who says the right things before it's too late." Olivia turned to face him. "I've been in too many rooms where people said the right things, but none of them stayed." "I will," he said, "if you'll let me." She didn't smile, but her shoulders softened. "Then stay," she said. "Not just when the fire's lit and the room's quiet. Stay when it's cold, when it's messy, when Sophie's teething and I'm tired and your schedule's a wreck." "I will," he said again. Olivia nodded once. "That's a start." That night, Sophie woke crying at 2 a.m. Olivia was halfway to the nursery when she heard it. But when she opened the door, James was there, cradling Sophie, gently bouncing her, whispering the lullaby Olivia had sung countless times. He didn't see her at first, but when he did, he didn't flinch. He kept rocking. "She wouldn't settle at first," he whispered. "Then I remembered your hum, the rhythm, I tried it. I think it worked. Olivia stepped closer, standing beside him. You're doing fine, she said. He looked down at the baby, then back at Olivia. So are you. In the quiet nursery, beneath the howl of the wind outside and Sophie's soft breaths, something shifted. Not loud, not sudden, but real, a connection forming in the dark, fragile but growing. The next morning, laughter broke the stillness. Olivia carried Sophie through the hallway when the little girl sneezed so dramatically it knocked over a small cat statue. The figurine wobbled, teetered, and thudded onto the carpet. Sophie burst into giggles, and Olivia, after a stunned beat, joined her. Mrs. Carter poked her head out from the kitchen, eyebrows raised. Was that what I think it was? I think the cat's dead, Olivia said. Deadpan. Mrs. Carter's mouth twitched. Well, at least she's happy. She's been smiling more lately, Olivia said. Sleeping better, too. She's sensing the shift, Mrs. Carter replied. Babies know more than most grown-ups. Olivia looked down at Sophie, who was now tugging at her necklace. Yeah, she murmured. She knows. Later that day, James knocked on the nursery door. Olivia looked up from the floor, where she was stacking colored blocks with Sophie. You're knocking now, she said. I'm learning, he replied, a faint smile on his lips. Come in. He stepped inside, holding 2 mugs. I made coffee. You made coffee, Olivia repeated, skeptical. It might be terrible. She took the mug. If I die, Elena will avenge me. He smiled, settling beside her on the floor, legs folded like it was natural. Sophie beamed and crawled into his lap. Every time I see her do that, Olivia said quietly, I wonder how long she waited to feel that safe. James looked at Sophie, now tugging his sleeve. I think I waited just as long. They sat there, the 3 of them, the silence warm, not awkward. The blocks toppled. Sophie clapped. For a moment, the world outside didn't matter until it did. Just after sunset, a phone rang, sharp and demanding. James answered in the hallway. Olivia couldn't make out the words, but his voice was low, tense. When he returned, his face was different, closed, controlled. What is it, she asked. He hesitated. Jessica's coming. Olivia's fingers froze on Sophie's blanket. Jessica. Sophie's mother. She wants to see Sophie. Why now? Olivia's voice was low. I don't know. James said. She didn't say much, just that she's in town and wants to talk. When? Tomorrow. Olivia nodded once, stiffly, right. James stepped closer. Olivia. No, she said. It's fine. She's Sophie's mother. You didn't say that to hurt you. You didn't have to, she replied. It's just the truth. That night, Olivia didn't sleep. She lay awake, staring at the ceiling, the baby monitor humming softly. Every so often, she glanced at it, as if expecting Sophie to vanish. The morning air in Chicago carried the sharp bite of early spring, the kind that promised warmth but hadn't delivered yet. Olivia stood in the nursery, brushing Sophie's curls into a neat ponytail, the little girl humming a tune she'd picked up from somewhere, maybe the radio in the kitchen where Elena was always singing. Olivia's hands moved with care, but her mind was elsewhere, replaying Jessica's name like a stuck record. Sophie's mother was due to arrive in an hour, and the weight of that truth sat heavy in Olivia's chest. You look pretty peanut, Olivia said, tying a yellow ribbon around Sophie's hair. Sophie grinned, her tiny hand grabbing Olivia's finger. You stay today. Always, Olivia said, forcing a smile, but her heart twisted. She didn't know what Jessica's visit would mean for Sophie, for James. For her. Downstairs. James paced the dining room, his phone pressed to his ear, voice low but tense. No. I don't know why she's coming now. Just make sure the car's ready. He hung up, catching Olivia's eye as she descended the stairs with Sophie on her hip. You okay? He asked. Olivia nodded, but her grip on Sophie tightened. She's Sophie's mom. She has a right. James's jaw clenched. She walked away 2 years ago. Rights don't mean trust. Before Olivia could respond, the doorbell chimed, slicing through the quiet. James opened the door to reveal Jessica Morgan, tall, poised, wrapped in a cream coat that cost more than Olivia's entire wardrobe. Her smile was hesitant, almost fragile. James, she said softly. Then her eyes drifted to Sophie. She's gotten so big. Olivia stood still, Sophie clutching her shirt. Jessica stepped closer, her hands outstretched. May I? James glanced at Olivia, who nodded stiffly. He took Sophie from her arms, the girl whimpering as she was handed to Jessica. For a moment, it looked like a painting mother and child, soft light filtering through the foyer. But then Sophie's whimpers turned to cries, sharp and panicked. Jessica tried to soothe her. Shh. Baby girl. Mommy's here. But Sophie reached for Olivia, tears streaming. Olivia moved instinctively. Sophie, she said, voice calm but firm. The girl stretched toward her, trembling. Olivia took her back, holding her close. Within seconds, the cries softened to hiccups. Jessica stood frozen, her face pale. She doesn't know me, she whispered, voice breaking. She knows who stayed, Olivia said. Not unkindly. James stepped forward, his tone even. You wanted to see her, Jessica. You've seen her. Jessica's shoulders slumped. I thought it would feel different. But you've got a family now. She looked at Olivia. I didn't expect you. I didn't expect me either, Olivia replied. Jessica nodded, her eyes glistening. She's happy. I didn't think I'd be relieved by that. But I am. She turned and walked out, the door clicking shut behind her. The foyer fell silent, heavy with what hadn't been said. Olivia held Sophie tighter, her heart pounding. James looked at her. You okay? I don't know, Olivia said, but I'm still here. He nodded. That counts. The next day, the mansion felt lighter, as if Jessica's departure had lifted a shadow, but Olivia's unease lingered. She couldn't shake the feeling that something was coming, something bigger than a visit from a ghost. That afternoon, while folding laundry in the staff quarters, she overheard a conversation through the vent, Elena talking to another staff member, a man named Richard Bennett, head of household operations. His voice was low, clipped. Thornton's getting soft. Letting the maid run the show now. That app's a joke. She's a liability. Olivia froze, her hands gripping a towel. Elena's voice was sharp. She's not just a maid, Richard. She's the only one Sophie trusts. She's a nobody, Richard hissed. You think the board's gonna let a black woman from nowhere steer a billion-dollar project? They're already whispering about optics. Thornton's losing his edge. Olivia's breath caught. The words weren't new, she'd heard them before, in foster homes, in low-rent diners, in the eyes of clients who looked past her. But hearing them here, in a place she'd started to call home, cut deeper. She slipped out quietly, her resolve hardening. That evening, she found James in his study, staring at a spreadsheet. We need to talk, she said, closing the door. He looked up, sensing her tone. What's wrong? I overheard Richard Bennett. He's undermining you, undermining me. He called me a liability, said the board's questioning your judgment because of me. James's face darkened. Richard's been with the company for years. He's loyal to the old guard. He's loyal to himself, Olivia said. And he's not alone. They're targeting the app. James. They think it makes you look weak. He leaned back, rubbing his temples. The board's been restless since I greenlit Family Haven. They want profits, not philanthropy. Richard's their mouthpiece. Then why keep him, Olivia asked. Because firing him without proof is a lawsuit waiting to happen, James said. He's got friends in high places. Olivia crossed her arms. Then we get proof. James studied her, a flicker of admiration in his eyes. You're serious? I'm not here to play nice, she said. Sophie deserves better. This project deserves better. Over the next week, Olivia moved carefully. She kept her routine caring for Sophie, reviewing app designs, but her eyes were sharp, watching Richard's every move. He was polished, all smiles in public. But she noticed the late-night calls he took in the staff lounge, the way he lingered near James's office, the coded emails he sent from a personal account. One night, while Sophie slept, Olivia slipped into the staff office and accessed the shared server, her heart pounding. She wasn't a hacker, but she knew enough from years of scraping by to navigate basic systems. There, buried in deleted files, she found a string of emails between Richard and a board member, Edward Klein, plotting to sabotage Family Haven by leaking false data to investors, framing it as a failed venture. Olivia printed the emails and hid them in her room. The next morning, she showed them to James. His face was stone as he read. This is enough to bury him, he said, but we need more. If we go public now, Klein will cover his tracks. Then we set a trap, Olivia said. Let Richard think he's winning. He'll slip. James nodded. You're playing a dangerous game. Olivia. I've played worse, she replied. 2 days later, Richard called a staff meeting, his voice dripping with false concern. I've heard rumors about budget issues with Mr. Thornton's new project, he said, glancing at Olivia. We need to protect this household's reputation. Some of us don't belong in roles we weren't hired for. The room went quiet. Elena shot Olivia a look, but Olivia stayed calm. If you've got something to say, Richard, say it, she said. He smirked. You're a nanny. Olivia, stick to diapers. The words stung, but Olivia didn't flinch. And you're a manager who thinks he's untouchable. We'll see who's still here by the end of the week. The challenge hung in the air. That night, Olivia and James met in secret, poring over the emails. They crafted a plan leak, a fake report to Richard, one that would tempt him to act. Olivia drafted it herself, a document suggesting Family Haven was hemorrhaging funds. They sent it from a dummy account, knowing Richard's access would let him see it. By morning, he took the bait, forwarding it to Klein with a note. This is our chance to kill the project. But Olivia had been one step ahead. She'd installed a tracking script taught to her by a friend from her old neighborhood on the server. Every move Richard made was logged, time-stamped, undeniable. When the board convened that afternoon, James called an emergency session. Olivia stood at his side, the folder of evidence in her hands. Richard Bennett, James said, his voice like steel. You've been leaking proprietary data to undermine Family Haven. We have proof emails, IP logs, timestamps. Richard's face paled. This is a setup, he stammered. She's lying to save herself. Olivia stepped forward, her voice calm but cutting. You called me a nobody, Richard. But I'm the one who caught you. You thought I didn't belong here, but you're the one who doesn't. She slid the folder across the table. The board members read in stunned silence. Klein shifted uncomfortably, his own name glaring in the documents. This is outrageous, he muttered. No, James said. What's outrageous is you thinking you could bury a project meant to help people because it didn't fit your image of power. Effective immediately. Richard, you're terminated. Klein, you're suspended pending investigation. Security escorted Richard out, his protests echoing down the hall. Klein followed, head bowed. The room was silent until a younger board member, a woman named Clara, spoke. Miss Harris, your work on this, it's remarkable. Olivia nodded. I didn't do it for applause. I did it for the people this app will help. That night, Olivia stood in the nursery, Sophie asleep in her crib, the Chicago skyline glittering beyond the window. James joined her, his presence quiet but steady. You didn't just save the project, he said. You saved us. I wasn't trying to save anyone, Olivia said. I was trying to protect what matters. He looked at her, his eyes soft. You matter, Olivia. To Sophie. To me. She didn't respond, but her hand brushed his, a small gesture that felt bigger than words. The next morning, news of Richard's termination hit the press. Headlines called it a shakeup at Thornton Enterprises. But social media told the real story posts, praising Olivia, the nanny who took down a corporate snake. Her name trended, not as a scandal, but as a symbol of resilience. By week's end, Olivia was back in the nursery, reading to Sophie. James sat nearby, watching them. You ever think about what's next, he asked. Olivia closed the book. I used to think surviving was enough. Now I want to build something mine. Then do it, James said, and I'll be right here. She looked at him, then at Sophie. And for the first time, she didn't feel like she was standing outside the gates. She was home. Thank you for following this story. Where are you watching from? Let us know in the comments below. If you'd like more inspiring stories about justice and resilience, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. We'll be back tomorrow with another must-see story you won't want to miss.